There are moments when a single admission quietly alters everything we think we know. For years, Abby and Brittany Hensel lived in the public eye with a careful balance of openness and firm boundaries. People admired their resilience, their unity, and the way they navigated a life few could imagine. Yet beneath that admiration lived constant speculation, especially around their personal futures. When their mother, Patty, later acknowledged that Abby had married privately years earlier, it wasn't a dramatic revelation meant to shock the world. Instead, it reframed a story many outsiders believed they understood. What the public saw as curiosity had long felt like pressure to the twins. That one confirmation didn't just clarify a rumor. It exposed how fragile privacy can be for people whose lives have always been treated as public discussion. The moment reminded everyone that admiration can easily cross into intrusion, even when intentions seem harmless. The rumor that never faded for years. Online discussions quietly circled one persistent question. Could one of the Hensel twins ever marry? To some, it sounded impossible. To others, it became an invasive thought experiment repeated across forums and comment sections. Abby and Brittany never encouraged the speculation, nor did they address it. Their silence was intentional, built from a lifetime of learning that public explanations often invite more questions, not fewer. Still, rumors intensified around 2021, fueled by vague sightings and assumptions rather than facts. The twins continued their lives as educators, neighbors, and family members, while strangers debated deeply personal possibilities. What many failed to understand was that silence did not mean secrecy born of shame. It meant self-protection. For Abby and Brittany, keeping parts of their life private was not about hiding truth, but about preserving peace in a world that often feels entitled to answers. When a private moment became public, everything shifted when a wedding photograph surfaced online in 2024, posted casually and without fanfare. The image showed Abby beside her husband, Joshua Bowling, with Brittany standing alongside them, exactly as she always had. The photo wasn't staged for attention, yet it quickly traveled across the internet, igniting debate and renewed scrutiny. People focused less on the joy of the moment and more on the logistics they believed needed explanation. What was meant to be a private milestone suddenly became public property. Abby had married in 2021, quietly and intentionally, surrounded only by those she trusted. Brittany's presence was not symbolic. It reflected the reality of their shared life. The reaction highlighted a difficult truth. Even joyful moments can become burdensome when the world insists on understanding every detail of something that was never meant for public consumption. A mother's honesty and its cost. When Patty eventually confirmed the marriage, her words were measured and restrained, yet they carried heavy emotional consequences. She explained that she had known all along, as any mother would, and that her acknowledgement came from exhaustion rather than betrayal. Years of deflecting questions from strangers, journalists, and acquaintances had taken their toll. Still, for Abby and Brittany, the issue was not what she said, but that she said anything at all. They had built their adult lives around controlling their narrative, after growing up under cameras and constant observation. Patty's confirmation felt, to them, like a boundary crossed, even if unintentionally. What the public interpreted as clarification felt inside the family like exposure. It created distance rooted not in anger, but in hurt, illustrating how even honest intentions can fracture trust when privacy is at stake. Individuality within a shared life. To understand why the marriage mattered so deeply, it helps to understand how Abby and Brittany have always lived. Despite sharing one body, they have long asserted their individuality and personality, interests, and preferences. Abby gravitates toward bright colors and expressive styles, while Brittany prefers a calmer, more understated approach. Their parents encouraged these differences from childhood, reinforcing that they were two complete individuals, not a single identity. Marriage, however, introduced questions the world had always whispered about, but never respected enough to leave alone. For Abby, marrying Joshua was a personal decision grounded in love and commitment. For Brittany, supporting her sister was a continuation of the mutual respect that defines their bond. Inside their shared life, the decision made sense. Outside it, people struggled to separate curiosity from entitlement. Love built on respect, not spectacle. Joshua Bowling's role in their lives was never about spectacle or fascination. He connected with Abby as a person, not as a medical anomaly, and approached their shared reality with humility and respect. Loving Abby meant acknowledging Brittany as an inseparable part of her life, a truth he did not resist or attempt to redefine. This understanding allowed their relationship to exist without diminishing either sister. Still, public reaction focused less on that respect and more on imagined complications. Instead of celebrating happiness, conversations often turned analytical and invasive. Abby and Brittany responded by retreating further into privacy, reinforcing a boundary they had drawn long ago. Their silence was not dismissive, it was protective. It reflected a decision to nurture their relationships away from voices that viewed love as something to dissect rather than honor. Growing up, under constant observation, long before marriage became a topic, Abby and Brittany had spent their entire lives under observation. From childhood television appearances to documentaries, they learned early that curiosity could feel relentless. Their parents worked hard to give them a sense of normalcy, emphasizing education, independence, and choice. The twins learned to walk, swim, drive, and study through extraordinary cooperation, developing trust that most people never need to consider consciously. School brought challenges, but also opportunities to prove assumptions wrong. In 2012, they earned degrees in education and became teachers, choosing a profession centered on understanding and empathy. In their classrooms, curiosity was welcomed but guided, and boundaries were respected. Yet even as professionals, public attention followed them, reminding them that visibility often comes with expectations they never asked for. The weight of medical fascination. Part of the pressure Abby and Brittany face comes from a long history of treating rare twins as curiosities rather than people. Conjoined twins have often been studied, displayed, and discussed in ways that strip away humanity. The sisters grew up aware of this legacy and determined not to repeat it. They understood how easily their story could be shaped by others if they did not guard it carefully. When news of the marriage spread, the reaction echoed that old pattern, focusing on mechanics instead of emotions. Discussions ignored the simple truth that adulthood grants autonomy, regardless of physical circumstance. The renewed attention reinforced why privacy mattered so much to them. It wasn't fear of judgment, but exhaustion from being constantly interpreted through a lens that prioritized fascination over empathy. Family distance and quiet grief. Behind headlines and online debates, the real impact unfolded quietly within the family. Patty had spent years advocating fiercely for her daughters, protecting their individuality and autonomy. The distance that followed her confirmation was not dramatic or public, but it was deeply felt. Trust, once strained, takes time to rebuild. The twins continued their work, their routines, and their shared life with Joshua, while navigating the sadness of emotional space where closeness once lived. This fracture did not erase love, but it complicated it. It served as a reminder that families, no matter how strong, can be affected by outside pressure. Sometimes the greatest damage isn't caused by malice, but by the weight of a world that refuses to step back, moving forward on their own terms. Today, Abby and Brittany remain united, resilient, and intentional about how they live. They continue teaching, inspiring students through example rather than explanation, and choosing silence when silence feels safest. Questions about the future persist, but the twins no longer engage with speculation. Their bond with each other remains unshaken, grounded in decades of cooperation, trust, and shared experience. While the relationship with their mother carries unresolved emotion, time leaves room for healing. Their story is not defined by rumors or revelations, but by the choices they make daily to live authentically. In a world eager for answers, Abby and Brittany have chosen something quieter and braver: the right to define their own lives, together, without permission from anyone else.